Welcome back to On the Tee on this PGA Championship edition. It's actually our last 2-hour edition of On the Tee. Mike Rickard alongside Judd Gibb, Jay Horton, Maggie Sutton on the television production, Ben Carroll on the big board tonight on the Iowa Sports Connection Radio and Television Network. Brought to you by Okoboji Grill and our palatial Okoboji Grill studios. We dined on another feast this evening. We had a little buffalo chicken salad out there, a little Romano griller. You had a little bite of that, Judd. That was good, you said.
Yeah, it was.
I wanted to bite, but you hogged it.
Jay hogged the other half, so talk to him, too.
Yeah, thanks, fellas, for sharing. And the chicken wings, we had the sweet chili and the bourbon. If these guys start slurring their speech, that's because they wolfed those down as well and did not share. But, again, I want to thank Leroy and his lovely bride, Ann, and the entire staff out there at Okoboji Grill all season long have taken care of us as we've dined and, of course, given you an opportunity to go out and win rounds of golf at all of their great locations in Johnston, Pleasant Hill. The South Side was there today. Ankeny, Ames, Iowa City, Newton, Independence, and in North Liberty. They got a new location. And you didn't get wings last week, so you had to stop and get some.
I stopped. I've been come accustomed to having wings on Wings Wednesday.
All right, it is Wings Wednesday.
Names and got some.
Well, speaking of wings, he's the Hawk, John Hawkins. He's kind enough to take time on a very busy schedule as he prepares for the 19th, the Grey Goose 19th hole, and he's going to squeeze in about 10 minutes for us. How are you, Hawk?
I'm doing great, Tom. A little warm here, but not too many places in this country where it's cool. So we'll make do. I'm sitting right here on the step right next to the range watching Gary Woodland hit some golf shots. So all is good.
Well, of course, Gary Woodland, a tremendous athlete in his own right. We've talked about that many times. One of the most prolific drivers on the tour. What's the big story this week, if you had to dissect through the many that you're going to be elaborating on in the 19th hole and, of course, all week long? Where do you start with this event there in Atlanta?
Well, I guess the most popular, the pop story has been, the Tiger Stevie, Adam Scott thing, which frankly is a bit silly to me. Steve Williams, caddy, longtime caddy for Tiger Woods, actually apologized today for what some perceived as just overshadowing Adam Scott's victory with his comments. And I actually tweeted right after it happened. I just think, there's a loss of perspective. It's a very common mistake made in this world by us all, but we sort of lose our way in terms of what's right. Sometimes we get too excited. Sometimes we don't get excited enough. Whatever the case, Steve Williams is a caddy, and I'm not going to demean the profession. That's not the point. The point is that one guy carries the bag and gives yardage and provides information. The other guy is the guy who hits the golf ball. He's the one who keeps score. And I thought that it was one of the most egregious examples of a caddy overstepping his bounds. He was a very good caddy, but John Gabor could have caddied for Tiger Woods, and he would still have it. He still would have at least 10 majors. So let's not get carried away. I think he did. He apologized. But really, the story, guys, if you ask me, if you look at that leaderboard out of Firestone, certainly Adam Scott reviving his career or taking it to one step closer to where he was at one point in the middle of a decade with this victory. But the youth on that leaderboard throughout the weekend was kind of astonishing. You look at everybody from Keegan Bradley and Rio Ishikawa, just a marvelous young talent from Japan. You had Fowler, the best young American player. You had McElroy sneaking in there for, I believe, a T4 or something like that late. But you had Jason Day up there all week. You had in most cases, we've had a mix of youth and household names. This one was all youth, and I feel as though the times are changing. You can almost feel the earth moving competitively with each passing month.
Well, John, you talked about the heat and how hot it is down there in Atlanta this week. I know you said that Gary Woodland's out there practicing right now. I mean, do you think we're making too much of the heat from a player standpoint, or is it going to be a big deal? And the young guys like Gary Woodland, have a little better opportunity than maybe some of the veterans like a Steve Stricker would have this week?
You know, I landed in Atlanta yesterday, and it really wasn't even close to what I was expecting. It was, and I sweat like a horse. And I live in Connecticut, and it wasn't any worse than it is in Connecticut. It's been in Connecticut. It's hot. If you're a pro golfer, you got to play when it's 93 degrees out. I mean, that's the way it is. I land in Orlando every week and get hit by the blast of humidity and just want to get back on the plane and go home at times. But I don't think it'll really. I think it's a pregame story more than anything. You know, we don't always have a whole lot to talk about. I have a whole lot to talk about when you know, I mean, we're talking about a caddy, Stevie Gate, the Heat, but I can't remember a PGA championship. Well, the one at Whistling Straits, the first year we went up there was freezing, but other than that, it's always hot. Last year in Wisconsin, it was hot. I'll tell you what, I bet you guys can go some high numbers out there in Iowa, too. I mean, my wife's from Minnesota, and you guys had a snap there, had a heat stretch that was second to none ever. So you got to deal with it. It's called an occupational hazard, but it's part of the deal.
We're talking to John Hawkins from the Golf Channel. He's kind enough to join us from the Atlanta Athletic Club as he efforts himself to do his Grey Goose 19th hole. And, you know, some of the great stories going back and looking at Larry Nelson's win and David Tom's win. We're going to see somebody come out, and you know, of course, I'm always pulling for the flags. On the American side, who do you like this week to come and make a statement and hopefully, you know, be hoisting the trophy?
Well, we've never gone 6 straight majors without an American winning. It's the first time in golf history, and it's pretty amazing when you think about it. Not so much that the U.S. hasn't won since 2010 Masters, but that it had never happened before. There's only been 1 year in golf history where the U.S. was shut out from in a calendar year, and that was 1994. So, generally speaking, the PGA Championship and the U.S. Open have been dominated by Americans. This tournament, a European hadn't won this tournament in 74 years until Harrington did it in 2008. And now we've had 2 Europeans and an Asian win this thing, and the Americans never won it since 2007. That said, I don't see any reason to believe it'll change. It may. It's golf. Things happen. I'm a card-carrying Yankee myself. Probably like to see one of our guys play, win it, and do it in style. But my short list includes, well, I think McIlroy will be getting back to business. I think this will be a good golf course for him. He does like the Heat. I think he's starting to get it sort of the hangover from winning the U.S. Open is over. He's gone to a major. He played okay there. But certainly, if the golf course proves to be difficult, and I would suspect it will, I think McIlroy will be there. I look at a guy like K.J. Choi, a grinder. I think the rough is not real penal, but I do think it will be very hard to score from anywhere other than the fairway. So I think you've either got to be quite long or quite straight to get yourself in the mix. And I look at a guy, I think Bubba Watson, has certainly grown quite a bit in the last 12 months, losing his tournament in the playoff to Martin Timer last year. He hasn't played all that well this summer, but he's also hasn't missed any shots. He's been in the 20s, 30s pretty much every week. And, you know, I think we'll see the usual collection of they don't make any sense guys up there, and I suspect that either Woods or Mickelson will make an appearance at some point over the weekend. But at the end of the day, I think I'm McIlroy, Choi, and Bubba. That to me, it feels like it could be a week like that.
Well, conversation with On the Tee in the great state of Iowa wouldn't be complete with one of you guys without asking about Zach Johnson. I've seen several pundits that feel that Zach might be, you know, in the power rankings of guys that might have a shot this week down there.
Well, I think Zach got a shot every week when he's doing what he does best. As you guys, Zach does 2 things very well. He drives straight and he makes putts. Now, one of those factors is a lot more reliable from week to week than the other. Meaning, the ability to drive the ball straight is a variable that travels well, but making putts is hard. I think that, well, Zach, in my opinion, Zach may not add up on paper because he's not quite long enough. If you drive the ball straight here and it's low ball flight for him, I think he'll get some roll. And if he can play this golf course with middle irons into the par fours and dig down on some of the longer holes, there's some absurdly long holes here, I think he certainly can factor, but it's going to be hard to get to the bat 9 on Sunday if you don't make some putts and if you drive the ball quickly. Certainly Zach is capable of sticking around, but we haven't seen it at the big tournaments in recent years, and it's not to say he can't do it. He's certainly done quite well for himself over a lengthier period, but I would say that he would have to get himself a real hot putter if he wants to make some noise on Sunday.
John Hawkins, I appreciate you taking time. We know how busy you are scrambling to get over there to the 19th hole, the Grey Goose. We appreciate it. Enjoy your week down there in Atlanta. And as always, thanks for helping us out here on the tee.
No, you guys, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, have a great week down there.
Take care.
John Hawkins, of course, you can see him tonight. He's heading over there, as you can tell. He was en route from the range, and he'll be on the Grey Goose 19th hole in 32 minutes, gentlemen, and be throwing on the suit and tie and making an appearance. So again, I appreciate his effort to help us out here, and that wouldn't be a bad gig, though, would it?
No, I could think of a lot worse ways to make a living, and that, the excitement surrounding a major championship is great here in this studio, and we're nowhere close to Atlanta, and I'm sure being there on the grounds of that great golf course and just all the stories, and I think this week. Even maybe more than the U.S. Open, we've got a lot of stories going on, whether they're positive ones or negative ones. There's a lot of guys that have a chance to win this week, and there's some other stories involved with them, and I love that.
You know what, though, Horty, as John Hawkins alluded to, the media is concocting stories and lengthening them up because he said, we have plenty to talk about and we're looking for stories. Well, this Stevie Williams and Tiger thing, people are upset. We'll talk about that when we come back because Brandel Chamblee is never going to get an interview again with Tiger Woods. As I got ready to leave our headquarters to come down here, he compared him to Ty Cobb today. We'll talk about that when we return, and that is going to get a lot of pub. I was stunned when he used that.
Might be a stretch there.
You think?
Yeah.
One of the biggest racists ever to play and one of the biggest holes. We'll be back on the tee on the Iowa Sports Connection Radio and Television Network.